Now, the inevitable has finally happened. Gazprom, Russia's largest company and one of the world's largest companies, the everlasting cash cow of Russian economy, has shown a huge loss. I'm not predicting Russian economy troubles. I'm not forecasting the decline. Instead, I am showing you what is happening. Let's start with Gazprom, once a Russian jewel, and it's now on the way to bankruptcy fast. Holy moly. Howdy everyone, my name is Konstantin and welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. No propaganda, BS or lies here, only truth, common sense and logic. And some emotions too, because I am a human being after all. But before I start, please be informed that my live streams always consist of 3 parts. Main message for about 30 minutes or so, then the live stream chat where we discuss and share opinions, and we finish with prayer. You're welcome to watch any way and any part of whatever the part of the stream you like. Now, do you know what they used to say about Gazprom in the past? When Russia runs out of natural gas, Gazprom will be able to heat the entire country for another year or two just by burning paper money it has. Yes, Gazprom was that profitable, and now it is in red. You know, first let me tell you the story of Gazprom, so you understand the depth of absurdity and the tragedy, economic tragedy of the situation. Gazprom is actually not a company, but rather a ministry of world's largest country, the USSR. Gazprom was formed as a company in 1989 as a result of conversion of the Soviet Ministry of Natural Gas, yes, such ministry existed, into a corporation, becoming the first state-run corporate enterprise in Soviet Union. The communist USSR didn't have any legislation for corporations to exist. Its law didn't recognize such term corporation, but they did it. They took the Ministry of Natural Gas and they transformed it into Gazprom. Gazprom is short for газовая промышленность. Soon after the fall of the USSR, Gazprom was privatized. This right there sounds kind of fishy because it almost seems like those people in the USSR, they had known that the USSR was going to collapse, and they were trying to somehow enrich themselves. You know, privatize one of the industries was a very good way to enrich, but that's a topic of a separate stream. Now, soon after the fall of the USSR, Gazprom was privatized, and Gazprom is plain and simple a monopoly. It is the only publicly held entity in Russia that has right to extract and sell natural gas, both domestically and overseas. Well, there's another company that can also extract and sell, but it's a private company, it's a small, and it belongs to Putin's friends, so we disregard that. As of 2019, with Gazprom had sales that were over 120 billion US dollars. Until 2023, Gazprom was ranked as the largest publicly held natural gas company in the world and the largest company in Russia by revenue, period. The company is majority owned by the Russian government via the Federal Agency for State Property Management, one of the agencies of Russian government, and via its oil company called Rosneftegaz. While the remaining shares are traded publicly, Gazprom is listed on the Moscow Stock Exchange. Back in the late 60s, and this is the history of Gazprom, back in the late 60s, Germany was the first Western nation to establish cooperation with the USSR by exchanging natural gas transporting pipes of large diameter for natural gas. Yes, that mighty powerful country, the USSR, the country that was sending people into space and possessing nuclear weapons threatening the entire world, it did not have technology to manufacture gas transporting pipes. Odd, right? Well, the USSR was full of odd things. The deal was quickly called the deal of the century, at least in the USSR, and its official name was Gaz za truby, gas for pipes. As a result, moderately priced gas, natural gas from Russia was supplied to West Germany, giving its industry an incredible competitive advantage. Cheap gas. Following Germany's lead, other European countries also became consumers of Russian gas. Hey, everyone wanted cheap gas. 50 years later, 3/4 of Gazprom's exports were supplied to European Union. Europe became the best, the largest, the most reliable, the richest customer of Gazprom, read Russia. The Russian company held a 40% share at the European market. You know, things were actually going pretty darn good for Gazprom. And Gazprom was absolutely crucial to Russia back then. Well, yes, back then, not anymore, but back then. For two main reasons. And the reason number one, it gave money. And in Russia, the strong men use money to empower themselves. So money is crucial to attain power and keep power. And the reason number two, it used gas as Russia's geopolitical weapon, exerting power over Europe. You know, that one I did not believe for a long time, but then, hey, we live, we will learn. Okay, I learned how Russia was using Gazprom as a geopolitical weapon. European countries were sort of addicted to Russian gas. Cheap, reliable. Up until the start of the war with Ukraine, Gazprom supplied approximately 150 billion cubic meters of gas to Europe annually through several routes, including Nord Stream 1, that was the underwater pipeline on the floor of the Baltic Sea to Germany, with capacity of 55 billion cubic meters by two pipelines. Yamal Europe, it passed through Belarus to Poland, supplied 33 billion cubic meters annually. Ukraine's gas transportation system accounted for 40 billion cubic meters. You see, when the USSR fell apart, the pipeline was split between Russia and Ukraine. And that's been a long-term contract on supply Russian gas through Ukrainian territory, and it still is being supplied during the war. And the last one, the Turkish Stream, supplied southeastern Europe with Russian gas, about 20 billion cubic meters. Moreover, there was another pipeline built called Nord Stream 2, complementing Nord Stream 1 and doubling its transporting capacity. And Russia was on the verge of commencing it, and the war happened. It's really hard to underestimate what Gazprom was to Russia, especially in the 90s. It was the stabilizer of the economy. You know, that thing, the keel under the sailboat underneath, that does not let the sailboat flip over. That was the Gazprom to Russia. Back in the 90s, oil was dirt cheap, and Russia was not making much money exporting oil, and natural gas was the biggest export of Russia. In the 2000s, oil price skyrocketed, showering Russia with money. but natural gas was still a huge bread maker. Both gas and oil revenues combined amounted to almost half of country's federal budget revenue. That's how important natural gas was and Gazprom was. For the year of 2022, Gazprom's export revenues amounted to 7.3 trillion rubles. For the year of 2023, Gazprom's export revenues dropped to 2.9 trillion rubles. 7.3 trillion versus 2.9 trillion the next year. The revenues almost declined by almost 3 times in 1 year, 2022, 2023. For the year of 2022, Gazprom's net profit amounted to 1.2 trillion rubles. And for the next year, 2023, Gazprom's net loss amounted to 629 billion rubles. 2022 net profit 1.2 trillion. The following year, 2023, net loss 629 billion, 0.6 trillion. In September of 2019, Gazprom had a market capitalization of $80.56 billion US dollars. September 2019. In January of 2024, Gazprom's market capitalization dropped to $44.96 billion. 80.5, 44.9. Insane. This is the first time Gazprom has become unprofitable in the 21st century. Well, there was a brief period when the COVID happened, when there was an acute phase of fear. We didn't know what was going on, and all trades in the world stopped. Oil, gas, everything, you name it. 2020. So Gazprom showed loss then, but the reasons were objective. And then the only time it showed loss was 1998, when Russian government defaulted its debts. So that was also a special situation. So we can say that in the normal times, Gazprom has showed unprofitability for the first time ever. You might have heard these numbers everywhere, because they are in the news. They have been hitting the news. Oh, Gazprom this, revenues fell down, net loss. I'm going to take you one step further. What you probably haven't heard is the debt situation at Gazprom. No one really is talking about it for some reasons unknown to me, but that's hugely important. To understand its debt structure, I actually read the year's summary for investors, the previous year's summary. Against the background of declining revenue and traditionally high capital expenditures, Gazprom increased its total debt by 31%, by 1/3, to 6.7 trillion rubles. The dynamics of the company's net debt is pretty similar, an increase of 34% to 5.2 trillion rubles. Against the background of rising net debt and declining EBITDA, Gazprom's debt burden has significantly increased. In the reporting for the investors, the financial report, the company provided the value of the multiplier net debt versus EBITDA. It increased from 1.1 to 3.0, and it's pretty alarming for any company. So you see, in other words, what Gazprom was doing last year was borrowing money like crazy. It borrowed more, 30+% more that it had borrowed a previous year. So what happened to Gazprom? Plain and simple. it simply stopped selling gas. Let's compare exporting gas to exporting oil. Just in very simple terms. Natural gas is the cheapest transportable substance because it's gas. It runs through pipelines. All you need is a very long pipeline, and every so often you install special stations that increase pressure. So the gas moves through pipelines. It's called compression stations in Russia, компрессорные станции. So oil can also be transported through the pipelines, and oil is liquid, obviously. But gas is bound to special pipelines. That's the only way to transport it. But oil is liquid, and it can be transported by barrels, delivered by huge oil tankers by sea to anywhere in the world. Oil tankers are nothing but huge floating barrels, you know. So in 2022, in the beginning of the war with Ukraine, there was a very unique situation. Russia didn't know what to do. The plans to take over Kyiv, crazy plans, they didn't happen. And Russian army was running back. It had left Kyiv province, it had left Kharkiv province, and it was leaving Kherson. So Russian government was trying to use anything possible to somehow leveraging the defeats in the front lines. And it started using natural gas supplies to Europe as the geopolitical weapon. It started blackmailing Europe to cut off its gas supply. And, if Europe did not lift off the sanctions against Russia, because sanctions, it was clear to Russian government back then that sanctions were hurting Russia. And Europe did not bend under Russia's pressure. And then Russians started taking actions. Russians stopped supplying its gas to Germany via Nord Stream 1, stating technical problems with turbines. I think we'll remember what happened in August. They simply turned the gas off, cut it off. And then the interesting started happening. A very unexpected thing happened on both pipelines of Nord Stream 1. On September 2nd, Russia, citing turbine malfunctions, the Kremlin, really, not Russia, but the Kremlin, halted the exports through the Nord Stream, aiming to use it for political leverage. But on September 26th, 3 out of 4 Nord Stream lines, it consisted of 2 pipelines with 2 lines each. So 3 out of 4 were damaged, blown up, due to, sabotage. No one really knows who was behind it. But it turned out that there was nothing left to blackmail with. Gazprom physically could not resume supplies as the infrastructure was blown up, and its restoration is a very lengthy and expensive process, even in peaceful time, when you have everything available, the Western contractors, ships, anything at your command. But, even in the peaceful time, it's difficult. In the wartime, it's nearly impossible. Simultaneously, the Russian authorities dealt a blow to Gazprom's European business by demanding a switch to ruble payments with clients from the countries that they called unfriendly. Almost none of the so-called unfriendly nations agreed to pay in rubles, to transfer the contracts into rubles. And while the contracts with most European consumers formally remain in effect, deliveries under such contracts have ceased. So Russians have kept on supplying gas through Ukraine to some countries in the European Union, but the volume supplied has been absolutely incomparable with Nord Stream 1 working at full force. What was for Russia to do? What was there to do? What was left? Of course, to look east toward China, because there was simply no more alternatives left. And China has become the only importer of Russian gas if we take the Ukrainian supply system out of the equation. The only major importer of Russian gas. But a funny thing happened shortly after. Russian government made the money numbers of the revenues secret. Volume revenues, not revenues, volume numbers of amount of gas supplied to China are available for public. But when it comes to money, Russia has made it confidential. So we know how much Russia supplies to China, but we don't know how much money Russia is getting back, in exchange for Russian gas. And that is alarming. If you start thinking about it, why? Kind of the same logic when the Russian government does not tell how many people died, how many Russian soldiers, Russian people were killed in Ukraine. They simply, it's confidential. They keep silent about it because the numbers are not favorable. Same thing with numbers for Russian gas from China. They're simply not favorable. Well, the numbers are not so confidential anymore because we are seeing Gazprom numbers, but only at the other end. They're not showing us what China is giving, but they're showing us, the Gazprom financial performance. And there's a huge loss. So we understand how much China is paying. And it looks like, for very odd reason, it looks like Russia actually pays China for every cubic meter that it supplies to China. Now, we can speculate why this is happening. Perhaps some weapons involved, perhaps some exchanges going on. We don't know that. But you gotta agree with me, there's something fishy here. This is just the beginning. There will be many more news about Russian Gazprom, Russian gas, the loss of revenues, and so forth. There will be so many more news coming out. Please don't forget that every single day I carefully select 9 news from Russia that I find important, and I make them available to Inside Russia patrons. So if you want to receive daily updates of 9 news, important news such as accidents, gas, oil revenues, new laws, arrests, economic news, prices, you name it. Everything important that I find important that comes out of Russia, then become the channel's patron at patreon.com. And I'll leave a link down below in the description. And now let's talk about what's now. Gazprom has likely lost the Western European market forever. Although Vladimir Putin occasionally proposes resuming deliveries through the only surviving branch of the Nord Stream, it's physically possible. He probably himself understands that won't happen during the war. And most likely it will not happen after the war. Even in the event of the end of the war, Gazprom will find it very challenging to regain lost position in the European market. Even if there's a change in power in Russia, even if Vladimir Putin leaves Kremlin in a coffin, or ousted or whatever, the chances of Gazprom renewing sales exports to Europe are very, very slim. The reason is the European Union has woken up. The European Union had approved the energy transition strategy called Fit for 55, and it had been thinking even before it started, aiming for radical reduction in gas consumption in favor of renewable energy sources. By 2030, the entire import is expected to be only 236 billion cubic meters. And furthermore, the events of 2022 demonstrated how risky it is to depend on a single supplier. The last winter, Europe did not freeze, but paid a huge price for that. The prices of gas spiked, but because of that, the Europeans were able to diversify the suppliers of gas. According to the International Energy Agency, the rejection of Russian gas cost 270 billion euros due to increased prices, and that's in 2022 and in the winter of 2023. The winter of 2023-2024 was actually better. The prices were much lower. The result of finding new suppliers. Now, Europe is lost. I think it's clear, not just to me, but everyone else, and to Gazprom as well. And China is not the way. China will not help. Gazprom's main hopes are on China, which, according to some forecasts, is expected to account for nearly half of the world's gas consumption in the next 5 years. Pipeline supplies to China may soon reach the levels we had for exports to Western Europe. That's what Alexei Miller, the head of Gazprom, recently promised. Although that is very, very highly unlikely. And I think Alexei Miller knows that. The primary route for Russian gas exports to China is called, it's pipeline, and it's called the Sila Sibiri, the power of Siberia. It was built in about 7 years, from 2014 to 2021. And in 2022, Russia supplied 15.5 billion cubic meters through Sila Sibiri pipeline. And by 2025, next year, volumes are supposed to reach the planned 38 billion cubic meters. Now, 38 billion is what they're hoping to sell to China. But compare that to 150 billion that Russia supplied to Europe. 38. And that is still under the question, you know. Right now it's a little over 15. So current 15 versus 150. Future 38, that is absolutely maximum of Sila Sibiri, compared to 150. I think you see that nothing can replace Europe for Gazprom. Nothing. And it was, I'm trying to think, it was such, it's like shooting itself in one foot, then into another foot, then into one hand, palm of the hand, then into elbow, then the same, shooting itself the same into the another hand, and then shooting itself in the stomach and shooting itself in the head. That's what Russia has done. I'm just, how could they do that? Anyway, China has taken note of Europe's bitter experience, and it doesn't want to depend solely on Russian gas. It understands that if Russia becomes the only country supplying gas, then Russia will start using gas supply as geopolitical weapon that now against China, and China doesn't like that. China outsmarts everyone. It definitely cannot be outsmarted by the Russians. China is waiting until 2026, when significant new volumes of liquefied natural gas from the US and Qatar are expected to enter the market. Okay, so both USA and Qatar are working on expanding their ports and their infrastructure to ship more of liquefied natural gas. That's how they're going to replace Russian gas. The whole thing, the whole story with Gazprom is, it doesn't make any sense, even after I've told you everything. I've told you the numbers, it does not make any sense. But it does. Listen to my personal story of dealing with Gazprom. once you understand that, then it'll make perfect sense what has going on at the company, what has happened to it. Before I tell you the personal story about Gazprom, I'd like to thank you all who bought me coffees at buymeatcoffee.com. Thank you so much. I'm going to take your coffee money and I'm going to buy myself tea and other things for the channel. I love drinking English breakfast. That's the best tea. That's what I'm drinking right now. Thank you so much. Your support shows that you like what I do, and I find it incredibly inspiring. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So listen to my personal story, and that's probably the most important part of my stream. It'll help you understand how the company works. The year is 2006. I am a young chief business development officer at a company that constructs, builds power plants. We used to call it energy facilities. And there is a new, and this is summer of 2006, there's a new power plant construction announced. And the company, the customer, announces a tender, bidding. So one of the companies who is considered as a serious player is our company. And I'm placed in charge of preparing a competitive bid. And I spent 3 months of my life to prepare the bid. We have experience. We have an excellent team. We know how to build power plants. We at this time we have reference list. So we're golden, and we're the strongest company among the competitors. A few nights before we were submitting the bid, I didn't sleep. There was so much work. There was so much documentation we had to print out, and it took us just 2 or 3 days to print everything out. There was a truck, like a big, large van, construction van, and I hired a couple guys, like moving guys, and they took countless boxes of documentation, and they filled the entire truck with it. I think there were like 26,000 pages or something like that. Anyway, so I finally made it to the place to submit the bid. And there were like 5 or 6 companies, and we all had large number of documentation because that was the requirement of the customer, okay? We needed to print everything out on paper. And this one company shows up, and that company is called Stroytransgaz. And it's a brand new company. No one knows about it. It's basically popped out of nowhere. And there are 2 guys, and they're smiling, and they bring their bid. And their bid is this thick, probably 25 pages, something like that. And that's basically a file with a few pieces of paper. And our bid was divided into 2 parts. I don't know, if you ever dealt with, imagine constructing a power plant, a large power plant. There's so much equipment. There are so many services involved. The construction process usually takes around 4 years. And there are dozens and dozens of thousands of people are involved, and so many hundreds of construction companies, subcontractors. So anyway, the bid was divided into 2 parts: the commercial part, the pricing, equipment and so forth, and the technical part. Description of a huge turbine. Our partner was a plant in Switzerland, a company called Alstom. They were to supply a turbine, and there's a generator, and just you name it. Anyway, so these guys show up, and they have 2 files, well, 1 file with both parts of the bid, like 26 pages. And we all start laughing, and the customer starts laughing as well. And they just come and say, well, you know what, just accept the bid. We understand, it's not much, but accept it. and then the customer accepts the bid. Okay, that's a formal procedure. At the end of the procedure, I come to the customer, who I got to know very well because I dealt with those guys daily. I had so many questions to clear up, and basically I was living on the phone with them. So I came to them and I said, look, I'm very interested. What's in the bid? I don't need the price. Okay, I understand it's very confidential, but let's check it out. And the guy looked at me and said, you know what? I really am interested myself. So let's see. So he opens their bid, so to speak, and the technical part. And there's a form, for example, please provide description of the main equipment, your turbine, and then there's like 1,000 pages. Turbine is huge, generator is huge, and so forth, technical documentation. So these guys put one line, to be provided later. And all forms that had to be filled out, that's a bid procedure, they were to be provided later. Okay, so we all laughed. I went back to sleep, I took 7 days off, I flew to Egypt, I think, and I was just sleeping all 7 days. Anyway, we were the strongest company, and there was a process about 2 weeks. They were deciding on the winner. They called us up, we dropped our price, the usual in Russia. And then the guy informally notified me. He said, look, you're looking like the winner. You're looking like the strongest company. We have trust in you. We think you will build us the power plant. So, it's not official, but you have like the most chances. So far, you're number one. And I was like, yes, because that's a huge contract, like $300 million or something like that. So I was thinking, oh my goodness, that's great. First of all, it's my project, my first project, and I brought it to the company. Huge bonus, and I'm going to be working on it for so many years. All these crazy ideas were floating in my head. So next morning, we show up at the procedure. They announcing the winner, and I see that something wrong. Immediately see that the guys' faces are just, everyone is shocked. What's going on? So they announce the winner. That's Stroytransgaz. That's the company who provided laughing stock bid. Every form they said to be provided later. And they were announced. We were all shocked. To tell you that we were shocked was to tell nothing at freaking all. Speechless. The bid committee was also speechless. They didn't talk to anyone. They just announced and they left immediately. So later, the story became kind of clear to everyone. So there was a telephone call from very high, not from the guy, but from the very high, from the leadership of Russian Federation. They woke up the owner of the project. He was doing a large construction project, and then he needed a power plant to supply hot water and heat. And they basically told him, I said, listen, we cannot order you, but we strongly suggest that you tomorrow announce the winner, this company, Stroytransgaz. He said, well, it's impossible. Those guys, they just formed the company 2 weeks prior. They have 3 people in the entire company, the general director, deputy, and a secretary. They did not provide us the bid. They don't have any reference. There's no one. There's no team. They're not going to build us the power plant. And the voice on the phone, I'm not going to tell you the name. I know who it was, okay? He said, well, you're right. They have no experience. But they're going to be constructing a lot of pipelines to China for Gazprom, and they need to practice. So your project is a good practice for them. You do that, and, we'll make sure that you're not going to regret. There are many projects in Russia ahead, so, you'll be considered. But if you decide to deny them, then you understand, there'll be troubles for you. So the guy announced, he did a very sly thing. He announced the winner, this company that belonged to Gazprom, but he killed the project. He ended up constructing the power plant 3 or 4 years later with a different company. And Stroytransgaz did never build that project. But guess what I did? My office in Moscow was not too far from Gazprom. Like 5-minute drive. So I returned to office. I went to the shareholders, and Russian energy business is a very small world, small place. And they were shocked as well. And I said, look, let's approach these guys and they have no one. They don't have a team. They don't have experience. Let's try to become their subcontractor because we can build everything. I said, okay. So they learned who the general director was. Of course, some people in our company were friends with his friends. And, we found connection like instantly. So there was a telephone call made, and I went to see the guy. So I basically introduced myself. I made a presentation of our company and said, you know what, we know about you. We know who you are. Don't have to tell about it. What do you want? I told them that we want to become a subcontractor for this project. And the guy kind of, blew me off. He said, nah, probably not going to happen. So that was it. That was my personal story. But then later, I understood how Gazprom worked and how Stroytransgaz and other companies worked that belonged to Gazprom. These guys at Gazprom, they knew that ahead of them, there was a huge time of expansion because they knew they were going to sign a contract with the Chinese. And if you look at the map, you will see that most of oil fields, gas fields in Russia, large gas fields such as Urengoy, and so forth, they're located in Western Siberia and they're closer to Europe. That's why it makes sense to actually supply gas to Europe rather than if you look, China is far away. And the infrastructure to Europe already existed. It was built in the USSR. And to China, there was a new infrastructure needed. So these guys were forming companies like Stroytransgaz and dozens of others. And guess what they did? They started building the pipelines. And by building the pipelines, new pipelines, laying pipelines, they started doing it by themselves. They didn't need any contractors for that. Their goal was not to construct pipelines in the shortest time, within the budget, for the least amount of money. No. They didn't have to do bidding procedures and so forth. Gazprom top leadership enriched themselves by not extracting and selling gas at the best price for the country and receiving bonuses for that based on their performances. No, they enriched themselves by laying pipelines, by laying pipes. That was their business. You order, if you're a person in charge of building new pipeline in Gazprom, you order to lay 2,000 miles of pipes, and you give the order to your cousin's company, or to your wife's company, or to your child's company. No idea. You get the idea, okay? And it costs you, for example, $1 million to lay 1 kilometer of pipelines. That's what the cost. I'm just throwing out the numbers, for example. But then you sell the 1 kilometer of pipeline for, let's say, $7 million, and you keep the difference, $6 million, in your pocket. And who pays for that? Gazprom. And that is the corruption inside the Gazprom. And if you understand how it works through my story, then you see that everything makes perfect sense. Gazprom is not about performance. Gazprom is not about doing something good for the country. Gazprom is a closed club, or it was at least, and it was enriching people who worked for Gazprom, who ran Gazprom. I'll remind you, how many people who had been employed at Gazprom, vice presidents, the finance managers, directors, and so forth, do you remember how many of them fell out of windows or committed suicides? Over a dozen. So they knew where the money went to. Now, Gazprom is done. It has showed red in 2023, and from now on, it will get only worse. For one, it sells less. It sells to the Chinese for the cost of extracting and transporting. Perhaps it sells for less than cost, and it doesn't sell to anyone else. There was a chance of selling Russian gas through liquefying it in the ports, but the USA has put the end to that by putting sanctions onto the ports and the companies who are doing it. So no more liquefied gas out of Russia. In Russia, the Gazprom does not have anyone to sell its gas to. Okay, only domestic customers, Russian people, but that's not a lot of money. The debt inside Gazprom was growing. And sooner or later, inevitable will happen, unthinkable will happen. Gazprom will declare bankruptcy. No one to buy Russian gas except for China again. But China has Russia paying a little bit. China has Russia paying a little bit to China for every cubic meter supplied, literally, okay? And they made it secret. They did not tell in the Russian public what the price of Russian gas supplied to China. And to me, folks, this is one of the many signs of economic apocalypse. If you hear from someone that the sanctions don't work in Russia, that the Russian economy has adopted, that the Russia has withstood all the sanctions thrown at it, simply show them the example of Gazprom. Show them the numbers of Gazprom that I gave you. And I fact-checked them. The numbers are in the investors' report for 2023. Show them the Gazprom, show them the company, what has happened to the company. Once Russia's largest and most profitable company, and it's going to bankruptcy now. If, the only way out not to get bankruptcy is that for Russian government to bail it out every single year. Will it happen? I'm not sure about that. Because where the money will come from. So Gazprom is just the beginning. Non-military industries are also collapsing right now. We will see it through increased number of bankruptcies in 2024. I'm waiting for the statistics for Russian Росстат for Russian Central Bank to start releasing the statistics. This is very interesting for me. Looking forward to it. And the next trouble will come from oil companies. Well, under certain circumstances, of course. The thing is, Russia doesn't have anything else. Really, nothing else. And this is the perfect economic storm and the economic tsunami, right now above Russia. And Russia, the economic storm is spinning above it, and the tsunami, the water is already up here. And this has been my message for today. Thank you so very much for coming and giving me a chance. I hope you liked it. If you did, please hit the like button. Help me spread this message by making reposts on your social media accounts. And please let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree or disagree? Did you find it interesting, informative, valuable? Let me know. Your feedback is absolutely priceless. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to discuss what I just said, the situation with Gazprom. I'll try to answer all questions thrown at me. I will turn the live stream chat on. Just give me a second. Then this is my most favorite part of any stream. Please carry on. Inside Russia community will just come alive now. And here it is. Did you like the personal story of Gazprom? That happened to a young junior executive in the company. I was about 30 years old, you know. Remember that story quite well. It did happen. Lorna, Mommy, Dirk, Harry, Bob, Amir. Fantastic to see you. Friends, if you're here for the first time, please know that these folks are the best moderation team in the world. Fantastic friends and the best mods, period. And the usual suspects, fantastic to see you. Paula, Karino, Leif, Pamela, Leitmotiv for me, Terry, of course, Terry every time, Sam the Legend K, Paige, Bet, howdy, Koshkin Dome, Great Southern Land, Andreas, Florian, Heidi Hi, John, Ferrari Guy, Roy Cousins from London, Ken Tyler, Aaronka, Bakerstock, Kyle E, say hello to your wife, Nige, Andrew Hodson from South Africa, KG1. I'm not reading, by the way. I know, I remember where are you from, your names, and so forth. Dennis, Susan Angelo, Martin, Simon, Maranto, Susan, Kaltenberg, howdy, howdy. Raziana C. Okay, that's I'm not how to read this name. Sorry. Anyway, friends, thank you for coming. I'll remind you that if you want me to read your message easier, faster, please put it in all caps and put inside Russia after @ sign, so it appears highlighted in large orange box for me. Whew, too much talking. Lorraine Prasnowski, fantastic to see you. Thanks for the super chat. And just, you know, your being here is priceless. No message, but it's awesome. It's received. It's much appreciated. And I appreciate you being the longest standing member of Inside Russia. I think you're sponsor for so many months now. Lorna and Mommy and Dirk are moderators. But I think you and Susan M. are number one among the usual suspects. Thank you for coming. So I'm going to start reading all caps and highlighted messages highlighted in orange. Leitmotiv from Maryland. Howdy. Harry, as usual, the best pilot in the world. Good to see you. You went 50 minutes. Lorna, this is quite the message. I know. I apologize. So it's not going to be a very long discussion because not much time. Mr. Kaliskin from Chicago. Stefan from Germany. Good Nobend. Angela McNaugh. Scott Nesbitt. Howdy. Personal story was the best part. You know how disappointing that was to lose that contract? I already had it in my dreams, you know. 3 months. I was preparing it for 3 months. And the shareholders just gave the whole thing to me. The contract was very important for the company. But they showed their trust in me. They said, okay, you are responsible. Use any resource of the company that you feel needed. And, just get it done. And I did. It's one of those things I'm actually very proud of. When people tell me what you did, good at work, I always, among other things, I tell about that particular project because it was huge. I had problems with guys in Switzerland because the Swiss don't actually work on weekends. I know some of you are Swiss, and Switzerland is a very nice country. Let me just acknowledge the super chats, and I'll tell you how I dealt with the Swiss. Alex, thank you so much from Romania. Been watching for some time, but rarely got the chance to catch you live. So now it's time to pay the rent. Thank you, friend. I would just like to say that your take on the Tucker interview was probably the best I've seen. Thank you. This is, you know, money is great, but your words like this, you just have no idea how inspirational they are. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, I try real hard. Thank you. Terry, Kate, today is my birthday. Would be hour to sing. Terry, this is quite the day. I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna sing right now. I'm gonna put it not to forget about your birthday, just in case. And then after that, I will talk about the Swiss. Terry is a great member of Inside Russia. I don't even know how to, explain who Terry for us is. He's certainly not even a pillar of Inside Russia. Terry is always here. He's always in the comments. He always has nice words for me. So thank you so much, friend. And I would like to sing you a little song. Everyone, please cover up your ears. I don't want to hurt them. So, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Terry. Happy birthday to you. I am drinking this wonderful English breakfast tea in your honor, dear Terry. Happy birthday to you. There you go. Cheers, my friend. I'm wishing you all the best, good health, plenty of coins in your pockets, so they give you freedom to do whatever you like to do, and just be surrounded by the loved ones. Have plenty of reasons to smile. Happy birthday. Thank you. Okay, dokie. Dave Strains for organic raw unfiltered honey for tea. Thank you so much. I actually love honey. My wife loves even more. We will show you what kind of honey we, in the sponsorship section, honey we buy, and it's a pretty interesting place at the local bazaar. Just for you, Dave, I'll do that. Dirk, thank you so much. Also, Martin Birsig has birthday too. Excellent, thank you. Danke schön. Hang on one second. Crusader Damien. The bearer of the best questions and the best food for thought of Inside Russia. Gazprom is one of the major contributors to Russian GDP. Without it, how much the little Kremlin man continue his illegal war? Is Russian collapse closer? I don't think that particular Gazprom is losing money. It's not nearing the collapse, okay? This is part of the big picture. It was expected. I have been expecting it because it's obvious. If your best customers stop buying your product, then year later, 2 years later, whatever, but you start losing money. That's how it works. So, and you're right, it is a major contributor to the GDP. And I tried to explain it in the beginning of the stream how important Gazprom to Russia is. And it's going to be much, much more difficult to finance the war without Gazprom contributing so much money. Like it did in 2022. It made lots of money to Russia, you know. So I'm not saying that collapse is closer, but the collapse is coming. That's what I would say. So thank you. Sam the Legend K. Russia is losing but a lot, but thanks to Toys R Us closing down, gets the backwards. Yeah, back. Russia once again. Backwards like the direction it's gone, and you're absolutely right. Thank you, friend. Another birthday boy today. Mr. Martin Birsig. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Martin. Happy birthday to you. Have many happy returns of the day. I wish you much happiness. I wish you many smiles around you, and I wish you to be the reason for those smiles. So people love you, and they're always happy to be around you. Happy birthday. So, Stefano, thank you so much. I think that the knots come to a head in Russia. Putin will have to struggle to resist the economic crisis, and I hope he will not react abruptly. Cheers from Italy. Thank you so much. Grazie. I agree with you, and I've been talking about it for a long time, saying that, hey, it's economic crisis is nearing. Okay, it's here. I call it the economic tsunami. So thank you. Paul Wright, thank you, friend. With the decline of energy sector business, what do you think will happen in the Russian economy with the collapse of Russian arms export orders, which have paid the bills for the defense sector? Well, Russian defense sector will not collapse. They will use any means possible to keep it going. It's going to be less effective, yes. Most likely will produce less of arms, less of weapons and so forth, yes. But it will keep on going. Because they simply can take people and make them work, okay? It happened before. It happened in mandatory work in World War II, things like that. So what will happen, though, is that the non-military sector will absolutely collapse. People's lives going to get so much worse. Living standard is so much lower. I mean, it's very low now, but it's going to get so much lower, okay? And perfect storm. Everything is happening at once. I said agriculture is in trouble. Energy sector is in trouble. Exports, the bread makers are destroyed, basically. Oil and gas revenue, everything. And then the thing is, the peculiarity of the moment, everything starts happening all at once. And we're going to be seeing it very, very soon. Tomorrow, by the way, I invite everyone to watch the inauguration live. The mods, I don't even know when it's going to start, around noon. We got to discuss the time after perhaps it's going to be too early in some places in the world. Dirk, if you could help me out tomorrow during the inauguration. But anyway, let's discuss it later. So you will see things start happening. The next thing to happen, mark my words, taxes will be increased in Russia. They will go up by a great deal. Okay, right after the inauguration, within a week or two. Mark my word on that. Anyway, let me tell you the story how I dealt with the Swiss people. We were putting together the proposal, and the biggest task is to decide on main equipment, who you're going with. And we didn't have much of a choice. Our close partner was a company called Arriva, then it became Alstom, and they proposed we go with Alstom turbines, and the turbines are manufactured in Switzerland. I'm not sure who the company belongs to now because they keep on selling this parts of their companies. Arriva, GE, Alstom, they keep on selling to each other back and forth, So, but anyway, back then it was Alstom, large turbines and generators. And I remember that was somewhere near the French border, okay? But it was 100% Swiss operation. And we started, in Russia, we work fast. We work weekends. If we need to work, if we need to prepare bid, forget about rest. It's work, 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 work. You work until you get things done. In Switzerland, it's different. It's Ordnung. They live, weekends are untouchable. No one works weekends. We want something to get done. The customer is calling us saying, okay, we want to change this and this. Have your engineers calls us on Friday. Have your engineers change it by Monday. And we do it, okay? The Swiss don't. And then we ran into problems that were being slow. And they told us, look, this is how we work. Okay, you told us the deadline. We're gonna give you the. We're gonna meet the deadline, but this is it. No changes, nothing like that. And then I initiated negotiation with their highest leadership, the director of the plant or business unit or something like that. And basically, I said, look, this is what the project is. And at that point, they were trying to break into Russian market. I said, if you want to break into the Russian market, we are the best company to help you because we know ins and outs. We've done it before. We are one of the best. But you got to cooperate. You got to be flexible. They're like, okay, what is flexibility? And I told them, you got to do this and this time. And they said, we're going to get back to you. They called me back. They said, okay, we usually don't do that. That's not how we work. But we understand it's a special circumstances, and we're going to send you one of our chief engineers. He's going to live in Moscow, and he's going to attend your office as much as you need him. And I remember this guy shows up. We meet them at the airport, and he's an engineer. He's designed the turbine. He's selling us. And he's with us, and he said, look, I would never do that, but that's like circumstances. It's like I was told like I'm going to war or something, that kind of serious. So you just use me any way you want. And then every single day he would show up at 9, and we would stay around 10 p.m. So that's, 13 hours in the office. And then every single day we would take him to sauna, because we would go to sauna, like a bath. We would have late dinner there. We would just take steam bath and then hang out there for an hour, get back at 11 p.m., sleep, show up at the office. And that's how we worked for a couple of weeks. And this guy was telling us stories like about Switzerland, how they usually work. He says that there's a law, you cannot make loud noises on Sunday. They arrest you for that, or they fine you or something. Then you absolutely cannot show up at your office on Sunday because it's mandatory that everyone rests and all of that. So, but anyway, that's how I dealt with them. And they actually worked a lot. You would call their engineers all the time. You'd be on the phone, and they would make changes to documentation and so forth. And then we did everything on time. So that's another part of the story. And that's another stories, but that's not a different project. That I'm going to tell you that story next time. That's also very funny. It's not about Switzerland. It's about German. And it's a bit embarrassing for me, but it's funny at the same time. Okay. Jonathan Clark, thank you so much. Welcome to Inside Russia. Jonathan, I thought you've been a member for quite some time. No? Crusader Damien, another question. Many people are asking whether Bang Bang Industries is still working on Lunatics 26. Rumor has it that one little Kremlin passenger will be on board. Rumors are not lying. The Bang Bang Industries have recently contracted Bang Bang Design, and they're working on Lunatic 26. That's right. Passengers are waiting. It's a good one. Okay. Martin. Well, I'm glad you liked it. Paul, thank you again. Sam the Legend. Crusader Damien. Dirk. Dave Strains. Organic Honey, thank you. Stefano. Lorna. Long-winded. Lorna, thank you so much. I love you back, and without you, this channel would not be what it is. Today is actually the big day because of Terry's birthday. It happens once a year, Alex Alexandru, thank you. Lorraine Proznosky, Sam the Legend, thank you. I think I haven't forgotten anyone. Craig Hughes, given the profit of 30 billion the previous year versus 7 billion loss, that's a colossal 37 billion deficit, or virtually the capital worth there is the finance coming from. Well, they have their own bank, a Gazprom bank, okay? And I take it that I don't know exactly where the financing is coming from, because it's like being in the dark at night in the forest, okay? They don't disclose this information, but my bet is that Gazprom bank is financing the deficit, and the Gazprom bank is taking money from the central bank. Because, Gazprom is too big to fail, at least now, and this is subsidy, so sort of a subsidy from the government. I think this is where the capital is coming from. But you're absolutely right. This is huge. 1.2 trillion net profit and 0.6 trillion net loss. Okay, this is, oh my gosh. Check-in time, 2 minutes, and we will start praying. Thank you. Time flies today. Palvia Flex, the Swiss live by the rule, live to work, not work to live. Yes, I know, I remember that. Oh, I heard stories from that guy. Keitashi Tsomo, Konstantin, have you heard about the theory that Shoigu and his friends had stolen a lot of money? I'm sorry, it's made me laugh. It's not a theory, my friend. That's a hard fact. I mean, what kind of theory is that? And when they feared to lose control, they pushed Putin to start the war. Well, the Ministry of Defense has been an incredible chest full of treasures and money for the past 25 years. Everyone who could get their hands into that chest stole so much. And the chest was controlled by, guess who? The Minister of Defense, and Shoigu is the latest one. They were the ones before Shoigu. And one was placed under arrest even, So every single Minister of Defense is a very rich guy. He's among probably the richest in the world. So you're saying that they had stolen a lot of money and they feared to lose control. They did not fear to lose control. Russia doesn't work like that. When Putin places the Minister of Defense, most likely he tells him something like, don't steal too much. Don't steal more than 2% or something like that, So it's normal. It is a reward. Be loyal to me, but you can steal. No one's going to touch you for that. So stealing is not considered a crime among the elites, among the top, okay? Because everyone does that. Everyone understands it's about stealing. The main thing is you got to be loyal to the Tsar. Or if you break the loyalty, like Prigozhin did, that is the crime, but not stealing. So stealing has nothing to do. Right now, if something's different going on, much bigger play, power is involved. The guy was arrested because someone wants to weaken the clan Shoigu, Vorobyov, Timchenko. That's the power of the fight, the war of clans. Not stealing is like, give me a break. That's nothing in Russia. Stealing comes with the job. Stop scamming, man. Thank you so much for coming. Great to see you. Long time no see. Thank you for the super chat. While much of the media is going along with Russia's claim about its economy, despite the opaqueness, its ramping up of arms production sounds entirely like exercise in consuming wealth. Well, every time you hear from now on that Russian economy is doing great, tell them about Gazprom. Tell them about the hike in taxes that it will happen any day now, okay? Tell them that. Tell them how they lower the age of children and they will be able to start working at Russian war factories at 14. You know, ramping up of arms production sounds entirely like exercise in consuming wealth. Wealth is not a question for them anymore. I think they're so wealthy, they just need to prolong their power. They're so set on keeping the power, okay? And ramping up arm production is part of the plan. Because if they lose in Ukraine, that they're dead, most of them. If they're not dead, their properties will be seized. They will lose everything. So that's how they defend themselves. Friends, thank you so much. It's time to wrap up, and I invite everyone to join praying with me. Thank you so much. If you're religious, please pray. And if you're not, you can call it whatever you want. Sending good vibes, good wishes to people, good energy. To me, it's all the same. So please, let's do it. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, thank you so much for giving us this day. Thank you for the food that you placed on our tables. Thank you for roofs you've given above our heads. Thank you for the love, people who love us, that you've surrounded us with, who love us and who we love. Dear Lord, please give us wisdom to raise our children in the way that when they grow up, they will not fight in any wars and will just love each other, make this world a better place. And for now, please give us wisdom to keep the skies above the heads of our children safe and peaceful. Please keep our children safe and healthy because they are our world and our life. Dear Lord, please help Ukraine, help stop bloodshed, and help reach out and touch the hearts and souls of people responsible for the decision to stop the war, stop the bloodshed. Reach out and touch the hearts, fill them with love, fill them with humans' emotions, bring them emotions back, fill them with empathy, common sense, logic, remorse. Make their hearts softer so they wake up from this lethargic sleep and make the decision to stop the bloodshed. Please help every single Ukrainian. Send your angels to keep them safe, answer their prayers, and make their wishes come true. Dear Lord, please help my country, Russia, assemble your strongest angels with sharpest swords into your heavenly army led by Saint Michael in shining armor, and send that army like avalanche down to this earth to get rid of the demons that we know by their faces and by their names. Have angels help good Russians run Russia, make it peaceful, loving, and respecting. Please help all those who are traveling, send them safe travels. Help those who are in dire straits, in rough waters, need your help, in danger of any kind. Send them help, please. Help those who are seeking for asylum of any kind. Answer their prayers. Please help single mothers who are struggling, trying to make ends meet. Please send help their way. God bless those who are helping Ukrainians. And please help those Ukrainians, send them safety, those who are under threat of Russian attacks right now, who are in danger. Please help all the sick, the addicted, the hungry, the jobless, the homeless, the depressed, the betrayed, the ones who are not feeling well about themselves, the ones who are losing faith, and the ones who are feeling alone in this world. Dear Lord, I am asking you to reveal yourself to those people in form of pure love. Fill their hearts with love. Surround them with warmth. And stand right next to them and have them feel you right next to them. Have them feel that you have not forgotten about them. Have them feel that you're working in their lives using other people and using different tools. Please have them feel your love. And that's going to make every single person in need feel so much better. They will make them feel not alone, not lonely, and that will make them feel loved. That will help with their lives tremendously. Thank you, dear Lord. Thank you for allowing us to assemble here and pray together. Thank you for everyone who's praying along with me or simply watching us pray. Please answer everyone's prayer and make everyone's wish come true. Dear Lord, I would like to ask for a few people who need your help. They are little girl Sarah. First of all, I'd like to thank you for helping her so much. Thank you for helping her to get up from hospital's bed and walk outside, smile, be happy with her mom and with her parents. Please, she still needs lots of help. Please keep on helping. Please send her recovery, complete recovery, and send strength to her parents, mom and dad. Dear Lord, please help Koshkin Dom, Gabing with Gary, Remy, Ann Larson and her daughter Hannah, Jeffrey S. and his family, Alex from Albuquerque, Mark Rutan, Lisa Cumbrian, Tom W., Terry Carter, Ron Klotzer, John McLean, please help with his diet, Jason Carney, please send complete recovery, Sandra Dunn, Susie Mailer, Warren Spees, Marie Doran, James Marston, Frank Caprio, Frank in Texas, Jim in Houston, Paula W., Tim Mayers, Larry B., Kaline's dad, Dominic, Dave, Don, Wayne, Scan family members and grandson, Boss Salmon, Leslie Fleming's daughter Taylor, Rhonda McGillis, Dory, Morgan L. Please continue sending recovery. Electrons family, John Abiro, Kurt from Colorado, Bogey Burger and Sons, Natasha, Yelena, Jake, Michael, Oля, Dasha, Sky, Svetlana, Julia Haney, Lise Dumbrell, Darla, White Lightning, George Ruberty, Patty L, Highwayman, Pamela J, Life, Stefan from Sweden, David Porter, his family, and everyone in Chernovtsi, Ukraine, Alvin, Meta Spencer, Joe and Lee McMahon, Randolph, Mr. Dean Spooner and his church, Lisa, Grace, all over the place, Karen. I also would like to ask for our loved Maud and her family, Mommy Kay and her mother. For another mod, Harry Potter and his family. And for everyone who is in need of help right now. Thank you so very much, dear Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Friends, thank you so much for coming, giving me a chance to deliver my message. Thank you for liking, commenting, just, chatting, being with us here. You are absolutely awesome and you rock. I would like to invite you tomorrow. It's going to be a big day and it's going to be a milestone. After that milestone, we will see big changes in Russia. You can mark my words on that. So thank you so very much. Again, I'll see you soon. And before I sign off, I would like to ask everyone to say out loud, along with me, as loud as you can, the following, the usual. Carthago delenda est.